Good morning YouTube. So it's been a little while since my last video. With all of this lockdown and whatnot, I've been observing social distance at home, working from home and pretty much staying at home. So it's nice. In fact, the restrictions have been lifted a little bit, but I've managed to get out into a nearby woodland, which I've never been to before, to explore and see what I can find. So really today is about a couple of things. One, it's about exploring this new location, trying to find out some new compositions and some new subjects to shoot, maybe for a future video. But at the same time, I also want to do perhaps some macro photography, some detailed shots of tree bark or leaves or something along those lines. Conditions are very breezy today. The sky has been overcast all morning, and well, it's perfect light really to come out into the woodland when it's completely flat. You really don't need grand light when you're in the woods. This overcast sky makes a real nice soft box, so it should be quite nice to get some detailed shots of the trees, etc, etc. But yeah, so I'm going to carry on exploring, see if I can find a composition or two, and once I do, I'll set you guys back up and I'll explain to you where I am and what I'm doing, and we'll take it from there. So catch you in a second. So guys, I've found my first composition, I think. I've got this nice little white flower here with a few insects and bugs on it running around, and in the background I've got this bark of this tree, this nice pattern. I think I'm going to do a macro shot. It's a little bit breezy, so this little flower is moving around quite a bit, so I've got to be a bit careful of that and be mindful of my shutter speed. And also the light is quite flat, so that should be quite useful in this instance. I don't think I'm going to need any additional lighting, but if I do, I've got my little LED panel which I can bring with me. So I think I'm probably going to set up a tripod shot on this rather than handheld, get the composition ready, wait for the wind to drop and then take the shot. So let's see how that goes. Okay, so what I've got here, I've got this little flower, and I've just lined it slightly off to the left of my composition. At 𝘧𝘧𝘪𝘭𝘪𝘢𝘵, the meter reading is around about 250th of a second, which is pretty quick actually for the conditions I've got, and that should stop any movement or micro shake from the wind on this little flower as it pushes through. By putting it in the composition I have, I've got a nice bit of greenery from these leaves underneath which are complementing the scene, and I've got this background which has completely been thrown out because of the depth of field with this slightly mottled look and feel to it, so that looks quite nice. I think I'm going to take the shot now and see how it goes. That's splendid, looks absolutely beautiful. I think I might take a few more. So I've got a nice selection of images now of this little flower. I think I'm going to pack up and move on a little bit further down the Woodland trail and see what else I can find. It looks like I found my second composition. Now with woodland photography, and particularly macro woodland photography, it's not always about the insects or getting really low down and focusing on the ground, although that's very useful and you find a lot of interesting subjects that way. Sometimes there's some interesting subjects at eye level. So I found a small twig coming off a tree which is covered in moss and lichen, with some nice yellows and whites and greens, and I think that looks quite attractive. I think that might be quite nice. So I'm going to get the shot set up, show you what I've got, and if the image is good I'll put it on screen for you to take a look at. Hope you like. So this is my subject here, this little branch from this tree. It's full of moss and lichen and it looks really, really nice. It's got some yellows and greens, some ash white. Looks quite pretty, but particularly interested in this little scene here. So I'm going to get set up with a 100mm macro lens, around about, I don't know, 40-50 centimeters away from the actual subject, and that should make for a nice image. The beauty with this kind of subject here, this twig, is you can move your camera along the full length of it and get a different composition every shot, and that makes it a really interesting subject in that regard. So for very little effort you can come away with 4, 5, 6 different shots of a similar subject, but all individually unique, and that's why I quite like this. So guys, hope you've enjoyed my little adventure into the woodland today. I've got a couple of nice shots of some macro subjects, a couple of flowers, some moss and lichen and some bark on some trees. If you haven't seen them already, I'll put those images on screen and you guys can let me know what you think in the comments below. If this is your first time to my channel, why don't you please like and subscribe. I'm always posting new videos every month to 6 weeks as work allows. But in the meantime, why not check out my social media profiles on Flickr and Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. It'll all be linked in the description below. So till the next time guys, thanks so much for joining me and I'll see you soon. Take care all.